Hello, everybody, and welcome back to this week's episode of the Cantina Conversations, the galaxy's #1 conversational podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Will Beeman, joined as always by my two Canadian compadres. Starting off below me on my screen is my beanie brother, Jackson Wells. Jackson, how are you today?
Oh, you're beside me on my screen, so you kind of threw me off there. I was like, oh, he's about to throw to DJ, but not quite. And this is going to be the content only for me, because on your recording, I will definitely be down there.
Yeah.
Well, that's the video that I use for our episodes, so that's where it matters.
Exactly. Your view means nothing, Jackson. It's only Will's.
It's only my view that matters.
Yeah.
Good thing we don't do a podcast assessing different media and how we feel about it.
Exactly.
Speaking of viewpoints that matter, no one matters more than Mr. DJ Giller.
Thank
DJ,
you.
how are you today?
I appreciate it. I appreciate being the sandwich between you guys on my screen currently. It's nice being in the middle for once. Good. I feel like I had to waste more time about it, talking about our weird setups that we have currently. There's nothing strange about the setups. They're just weird.
It's nice to know our unique screen setups, but it's nice of you to be here, DJ.
Thank you.
Sad you did not wear a beanie like the rest of us.
No, do I have? No.
All three of us could have been a beanie. I am wearing
here.
my Star Wars Episode 9 beanie that I received at Star Wars Celebration from J.J. Abrams himself before the Episode 9 panel. Because I wanted
That's the
to
best thing you got out of that movie, eh?
Well, I wanted to represent friend of the show, Islam's favorite Star Wars film. So I wanted everyone to know about Rise of Skywalker because it was co-written by Chris Terrio, who is also the writer of the film that we're going to be consuming very soon, the three of us. I'm very excited for that.
Everyone will have seen it by the time this is out.
Yeah, by the time this is out, everyone will have seen it.
For some reason, I thought it was a Friday night release, I guess, just because that's the way my mind works still when it comes to movie releases. So when I was getting texts from people at 8 a.m. being like, yo, you see the movie? And I was like, no.
Yeah.
I was on
You go, Jeb. Will.
I think they released it on a Thursday just because that's how movie premieres on Thursday nights now. They don't come out on Fridays anymore.
Yeah, that's always weird. Last night I was on Twitter. Yeah, last night on Twitter I was just scrolling through. Then all of a sudden I was like, "Why am I? The Snyder Cut's out. Why are you watching it? It's 4 hours long and it's midnight. Don't start it, man."
Just wait till the morning. Have anything else to do, DJ? They've taken the day off for this film.
I guess
it's as Zack Snyder described when they decided to change it from releasing in episodes. It is a 4-hour opus. So I can't wait.
Good word. I don't know if it's an accurate word, but it's a good word.
I can't wait to see what is in store for us when we watch it. We're watching it on Saturday, so I'm holding off for a full 48 hours before we watch it, thanks to the lovely
I'm
DJ,
trying to think. This will be the latest I wait to watch a DCEU movie, I think. I think I've seen them all. I guess the latest Wonder Woman movie I just watched a week or so later.
Oh, I even watched
I haven't even watched it
when it came out. DJ's not a real fan. He didn't watch Wonder Woman.
No, I didn't. I'll get there one day. It's hard to fit in. It's hard for me to. Okay. Now we're just jumping into Quest discourse. It's hard for me to justify watching a comic book movie alone because I have to watch one with you guys every week, and I'm just if I'm gonna watch another movie, I should expand my horizons. I should branch out a little bit, do something different. So then trying to justify watching Wonder Woman, I'm just no, I don't need to do this.
You know what? We'll watch it together in a year and a half.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe I'll wait. You guys
exaggerate how long it's gonna take. I think we'll get close to the end by the end of this.
We still have 100 movies left.
But once we start doing multiple a week, when Jackson's done with
You've been saying we're gonna do multiple a week since we started.
We started in September. Or at the very end of August. We started at the end of August.
We started when my collarbone was broken. So I guess that was the end of August.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. Yeah. There you go, DJ.
Yep, okay. So I remember the first time I was trying to maneuver things with one arm, trying to figure out how I can do this with you guys. It was terrible.
And it's hard just to to do the 2 times a week when Jackson's in school too, because like he even said Thursday nights, which is our new recording night, was his free night. And 2 of the last 3 Thursdays he's been busy. So
that's not true. Okay, no, that is true. I am available on this evening. It is occasionally there's certain timelines that change. Okay.
But anyway, we have some fantastic news that was revealed to us this week that I was very excited about. And no, it is not the Hasbro Black Series figures that were announced earlier today.
Wait. We need to talk about those because what's going on there, Will? There's some interesting creatures in these figures.
You're talking about Jackson, aren't you?
Yes.
Let me look up the series that was announced.
There's a dude from the Crimson Dawn comic books I saw, I think, right?
There's like some sort of sluggish figure that really confuses me, and honestly, I was a little unsettled by it, if I'm being honest. And I was actually waiting to ask you what's going on here.
That's the Luke from the Heir to the Empire book series, which DJ, I believe, read actually.
I have read the Heir to the Empire books.
Yeah. But there's that. There's Darth Maul from his comic book.
Yes, that's good.
There's the Imperial Guard dude that I have not heard of before, Karnar Jax.
He's the guy from. I'm pretty sure he's the guy I was referring to. I think I said Crimson Dawn. That's not right. It's what is it? Crimson Empire. That's the books. People really love that comic. I need to get to it.
Then there's the Rabbit.
Yeah, Jackson is awesome. He's canon again now too. He was just brought back recently in an IDW issue. But
yeah, I remember this.
He's a bounty hunter. But he's...
Wait, so this character's name is Jackson. You weren't just joking and making fun of
him? No, it's Jaxxon.
Oh, okay.
To be honest with you, though, like out of any of them that was announced, this would be the one that I would get. Would be
the guard, Praetorian Guard.
Get it to focus. No, it's the Jackson figure.
Oh, okay.
Just because the goofy rabbit is hilarious to me.
I can't remember
why he was created. It was like, yeah, I can't remember his original thing. I think it was like they were trying to bring in like the Looney Tunes crowd or something like that back in the day. But
good crowd. Well, I don't know. They get a little aggressive about their character designs, so maybe the Looney Tune crowd. Was a Lola Bunny joke for everyone out there.
Oh, great.
These are cool figures.
That character is pretty funny, but I've run out of room in my collectible toy room.
I'm reading now. This character was co-created by Roy Thomas and Howard Chaykin. And for you stunning Marvel fans out there, you'll know that Howard Chaykin is, I believe, the creator of Howard the Duck.
Oh, that all makes sense.
That does make sense. Howard the Duck, great film. Produced by George Lucas. So there's the tie right there. There's
bring all the ties.
Yeah. What a film. But anyway, it was announced that on April 2nd, Disney Plus is going to be getting the Ewoks Battle of Endor film, the Ewoks Caravan of Courage film, both volumes of the early 2000s Clone Wars animated series on Cartoon Network that was done by the Samurai Jack and Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles creator. I cannot pronounce his last name, so Jackson, why don't you take that for me real quick?
It's Gendy Tartakovsky.
There we go. Thank you. And then we're also going to be getting both seasons of the animated Ewoks cartoon from the 80s and the story of the Faithful Wookiee. And you might be asking yourself, what is the story of the Faithful Wookiee? That is the animated portion of the infamous Star Wars holiday special. They're releasing just that part onto Disney Plus, which kind of makes sense because it is the debut of Boba Fett. So I guess if they were going to pick anything, that's what they would end up picking. But
I could also see there maybe being some weird licensing stuff around the live action portions, perhaps. I don't know.
Oh, because that is technically a CBS property.
Yeah, it's like a syndicated.
I wonder if the animation, if that's like they have claim to the animation because they did it themselves or something.
I don't know.
I
mean, the obvious reason why they would only include this is because the holiday special is very bad, and they don't actually want people to see it.
But we're one step closer. We've got a third of the holiday special coming on to
honestly,
Disney Plus.
There's something even stranger about the holiday special is not on Disney Plus, but there will be the animated segment from it. Like that's somehow just like a weirder reality to live in.
Yeah,
the actual series being on there.
It's a shame. They got to put that thing on there.
Everyone's gonna get to see Boba Fett riding the dinosaur, and wonder what they were doing, and C-3PO with his actual neck. But I'm very excited for this content to be coming out because one, I wanted to have all of us watch it anyway, but without owning it, it's very hard to find pretty much all of this content. So now it'll be nice and convenient for all of us to watch. So of course, we're going to be doing the Cantina treatment on these and watch all of this content, give our review on this content. I can't wait to make DJ really regret his life choices after he watches the Ewok films.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Clone Wars for a second. And I was like, man, like that show's good, right?
No,
like I should
the Clone Wars animated series from the early 2000s is awesome. It's really good. So we're gonna be doing it in a little different order than normal. The only one that we're going to be watching and reviewing before the Bad Batch is going to be the Clone Wars Volume 1 and 2. Everything else is going to come post to that. Yeah, because we figured that series will just fit in nicely with all of the clone-centric arcs that we're going through right now.
Also, it's good.
Yeah,
Ewoks is a,
Yeah, I also, just a little behind the scenes, I imagine that will be the most popular thing that releases, and we would like to be on the popular train.
Yeah, that's not...
True. But let's not forget the Ewoks films feature the debut of the oh my gosh, I'm spacing on them. The creatures from Mandalorian, and then Rebels, the Blurgs.
Right?
Yeah, that's their debut as those films.
Great.
And they also feature Shakespearean actor Wilford Brimley.
Wilford Brimley is
okay.
Yes, he is.
Does he play an Ewok?
No.
What does he do?
What is human?
What's a human?
Of course, there's got to be a human insert into my Ewok movies.
Oh yeah, there's human characters in that.
The white savior.
Wilford Brimley. That's not what I meant. I'm just picturing the Ewok movie development team sitting around. They watch the first 40 minutes of the holiday special, and they're like, we need a human in here somewhere to speak some English.
It's almost like they made these films on purpose, or they brought these onto Disney Plus on purpose so that way they can be like, oh, you think it's just us making divisive Star Wars properties? Wait till you see what George himself made. And they just bring these out. You should look up some screen caps from those movies though, because they're
I want the pure experience.
Okay. Yeah.
I want to just sit down with no context and just click that button at Disney Plus and have an hour.
Yeah, it's it's something else, that's for sure. But yeah, so that's coming. That's going to be some delicious content coming straight your way. But until now, we are going to be continuing on with our Clone Wars review series that we started last week. This week we have 2 new episodes coming. Well, not new, but 2 episodes coming your way. And with the rest of that, I will lob it up and toss it over to Jackson to take the wheel.
I do some youthful thing, but I don't think you would understand. Start off with a little spite. Okay, so yeah, this week we are going through season 1, episode 16, The Hidden Enemy, as well as, let me just check the episode number. Season 2, episode 10, The Deserter. So these 2 episodes, I don't know if DJ was smart enough to figure this out, but they kind of have run through some similar themes of
What are you saying about me here?
I don't know.
I thought you were gonna say something technical, but the runtime or the ordering or something like that. You're just like, I don't know if he's smart enough to figure out what the episode is about. Come on.
We've got two episodes featuring some dissenting clones in different degrees and styles. So yeah, we'll hop into, I think these episodes are both going to be very rich for discussion. So we'll hop into the hidden enemy first. And now, I don't know, for you folks listening at home, I don't think we're going to provide too much context and for what's like really going on within the series at this time, mostly because sometimes it doesn't matter, but also that's just kind of difficult. I will note this episode is actually production order 201, the hidden enemy, which is interesting.
That makes sense.
Kind of makes you realize, because this episode is really good, that kind of where we're going here. It was originally aired February 6, 2009. We'll get that Jackson age counter popping up on the screen. This episode is directed by Stuart Lee and written by Drew Z. Greenberg. And this episode is technically a prequel to the Clone Wars film, actually, which lets you know how messed up this timeline is. All right.
Wait, really?
Yep. This is the Battle of Christophsis they're currently fighting.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Because I saw the thing of the first one. They're like bringing up the Christophsis, and I was like, oh, this must be like right after. I never caught on that it's like this is like happening.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
This is it.
That's crazy.
It's the original, as we discussed last week, the original production of the Clone Wars is kind of all over the mess in the first couple seasons. Mostly it's the first. Anyways, a planet under siege, Separatist forces mercilessly battle the beautiful and elegant world of Christophsis. Unable to defend themselves any longer, the people of Christophsis call upon the Jedi for assistance. Hoping to save lives and prevent further destruction, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker plan a daring ambush which can turn the tide in the fight of this crucial star system. Which, in my opinion, that kind of the opening crawl, or not opening crawl, but the opening kind of monologue sets this episode off in like some weird places, because this episode is like, it's called The Hidden Enemy and it's about the traitor, but they throw a lot of Anakin and Obi-Wan stuff in here, which isn't super necessary. But anyways, yeah, this episode starts off really simply with Anakin and Obi-Wan and the clones are preparing this ambush. They get caught and they're all like, whoa, how did we get caught? And they return to base, and essentially at the base they kind of capture this droid and they analyze its memory, and Rex and Cody are kind of our stars here, and they discover that, or Obi-Wan posits that perhaps there's a spy in their ranks, and they basically are like, we're off to go do our Jedi stuff. Rex and Cody, you figure out the clone spy issue, which in my opinion is a weird choice. You would think after learning as like a Jedi that maybe not all of these clones are effective, you wouldn't trust any of them.
Especially considering this is the battle. This is the first episode of the show. Like they just got these guys in. Like they're fresh off the truck. Like what are you doing? You gotta figure this one out yourself, in my opinion. But you know, I'm here for it. Just seeing the clones hang out. Like it's a good introduction for Rex. You get it, but it is weird.
Yeah. And then so what happens next is that the Jedi leave and they're like, okay, off to do some Jedi business. But Cody notices that someone has left their comm link open and someone has been listening to the entire conversation. And then they spot someone in kind of their vicinity and they chase after him. It's like, oh, they're a clone. And then they kind of do a little run around and they end up in the mess hall, which they all look the same. Can't.
Dang. If only these clones didn't look like each other.
Yeah. Who would have thought this be an issue?
Which is interesting though, because like I guess they didn't see them, but like it's interesting. You see through this episode that like Rex and Cody like don't really see that. Like they see everyone as like different, which I guess like you would like when your like siblings are super similar looking, you can tell them apart. Or even like I guess for example for me, like my mom and aunt are cousins, or not, my mom and aunt aren't cousins. My mom and aunt are twins, and like I can tell them apart. And like I guess it's interesting to get into the mind of these clones here and be like, because I know especially in my first watch through of this show, I was like, I can't tell any of these people apart, and I can't get any emotional resonance out of this because they all look the same.
At least for the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah. No, certainly near the end, I got smart. But yeah, so now this is when they're like trying to like they're trying to like reach out to the Jedi, but they can't. And then Rex and Cody kind of determine that the traitor has to have come from a clone named Slick's barracks, who I don't know how the hierarchy works, but like he's the commander of a small group of clones. Yeah. And this is actually a really good scene, in my opinion, where they go to Slick's barracks and investigate. And here we got some good clone names. We've got Jester, Punch and Sketch, Gus, and Chopper. Some great clone names.
Fantastic names.
And they kind of they do their little inspection thing. And I think this episode, as a whole for Clone Wars, kind of demonstrates it at its most military drama. I think about a lot of stuff like see how like something like A Few Good Men or something like fits in here, where it's like, man, they're really trying to find out what's going wrong here. And I think that's super interesting.
It has the same kind of vibe as the episode we watched last week too, where just like these dudes are just kind of like hanging out in their barracks as you would think soldiers would, and it's very cool to just see them like hanging out and be like, oh man, what's going on? What's happening? Like, so it was cool. It was cool to see Rex and Cody have this dynamic too, where they're like trying to figure this out, and like actually seeing them talk to each other is like something the show forgot to do later. And
yeah, you don't get the two of them together in a room a lot.
It's actually really cool revisiting this and being like, oh, like Cody's not like a brilliant character, but like him existing and like being a part of the universe is definitely cool.
Yeah, Will, do you have any thoughts?
No, I think that's a pretty good way of putting it, is this is like the military drama side of things. And that's kind of, I think, how the clone specific episodes lean for the first few seasons, at least, when they become more established stars in their own right and then start having more to do besides military drama. Like you're talking about like how it kind of starts off with Anakin and Obi-Wan doing its own thing and it doesn't really like vibe with the rest of the episode, but like this is technically a first season episode, so like at the time people are still tuning in at this time for Anakin and Obi-Wan. Correct. They're not tuning in for yet. It's not till later in the series when you actually are like, oh man, I love these clone characters. So like it's okay if they have some episodes that aren't Jedi heavy or without them being involved in some fashion the entire time.
Yeah. I wonder if that's part of the reason that Cody is so like there in the first season, like for these episodes, then he just vanishes for the rest of the show. If it's like one of those things where like Dave and the crew like did not care to do anything with Cody, but they knew they had to have the dude that shot Obi-Wan in this show, and they're just like, well, we're gonna do this stuff with Rex, but Cody's got to be there right now so people can get adjusted.
Named, that's why.
Yeah,
it's like they can't undo that. It's just
everyone read the art book and saw that he was named Commander Cody. Like we gotta have him in the movie.
They even call him Cody in the movie.
Do they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because like technically at this time, like Cody is the star clone.
Yeah,
it's very, very weird to think about.
It's a nice passing of the torch they do.
Yeah, and then something else really interesting kind of happens in the scene where Chopper, who's he has this like, it's clearly he has like battle scarring like all over his face. Like everyone kind of has their like cool like hair slits or their like tattoos, and he's just got like it looks like burn scars essentially. Yeah. And then they do this like a little fun little bait and switch where it's like he is hiding something, but what he's hiding is that he's been like collecting like souvenirs from battle. Yeah. Which in any other context is like super messed up.
Yeah, like for this world, like we just don't think about it and like it's droids, but like it is like the equivalent of like stealing fingers off of people. Like at this point, right? Like this is kind of messed up.
Yeah.
This dude is kind of crazy.
Yeah, and it kind of presents to me this like first step into the like, ooh, these clones like are like physically getting messed up. You can see it on his face, but like in his head, he says that he wanted to get back at them for something. And I think it's really effective because like, at any turn, he could have been the spy because he could have been approached, and he doesn't seem to be super like, maybe he's loyal to his comrades, but like, he didn't seem super loyal to this cause.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's cool to see too how you go through the other clones and they're like, oh, I was going to the mess hall. I was going to check this data recording. And like, it's all very like generic stuff where it's like, oh, that's in your programming, where it's like, this is not in programming. This is like a will that he has that's like deep and rooted in him, and like it's cool to finally see those topics like brought up here, just in a very slight form at this point. So
yeah, and then they do, because I'm it's obviously been a while since I watched them, so they do like a good trick here. I didn't remember this little trick that Slick, who is the commander, he's the mole, and then they do this little runaround trick, and basically Slip just like blows up all of their weapons.
Yeah.
In the area.
The whole weapons arsenal.
Which, if I remember correctly, has like consequences in other episodes, but this show is such a mess that I couldn't tell you which episode. Maybe it's like 10 episodes from now. They're like, oh, yes,
it might be the movie, honestly.
Yeah, I can't even remember. But yeah,
I'm sure it says in the Wikipedia. I'll look while you.
Yeah,
and then they cut to, this is when they cut back to Anakin and Obi-Wan. We won't cover this too much just because, but it is good. This is good stuff though.
This is some good Obi-Wan Ventress content right here.
Yeah, that's the problem. I would have cut this 100% if it wasn't great content. And this is, you get some good Obi-Wan and Anakin back and forth here when they're like, they know they're headed to a trap and they're like talking about it and they're doing their banter thing.
Yeah, they're just like, we're gonna deal with it when we get there.
They're like, oh, we're the Jedi. We can do this. And then they just kind of like enter this room, and then out of nowhere, Ventress comes out, and I believe Obi-Wan says something along the lines of, I thought this like task would be boring or something, or like disappointing.
No, he says unpleasant, because she says the pleasure is all hers.
Yeah, that's the worst way you could possibly word what you were.
It's a very sensual introduction.
She even takes her robe off as she says something like this.
Slowly too. Yeah. And the camera pans up at the same time.
Yeah, just like, oh my god, guys.
For some reason, in my head I remembered a lot of the Obi-Wan Ventress thing being kind of like fan projected, but it's
there.
Yeah,
it's there.
He's a real rascal.
Obi-Wan is into it, in my opinion.
Obi-Wan's a rascal.
Yeah, and then I don't know, they do Jedi stuff. I don't think we really need to go over it.
Yeah.
And then
the main part of that episode was basically Slick was the spy.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with General Hux being the spy. Star Wars Episode 9, Rise of Skywalker.
As he likes
Chris Terrio.
Yeah.
Zack Snyder's The Justice League, available now on HBO Max.
And no, your TV is not messed up. It is supposed to look like that.
Yep.
Yeah, and then kind of to close, this episode does end a little abruptly, but I do like the way it ends. It closes off with them kind of returning to the main kind of like data hub or whatever where they were before, and they do this really good like fake twist, and it's like some really good like, I guess acting isn't the term. It's good animation of like, you can see the two of them kind of look at each other and recognize that Slick's hiding up in the vent. And then they have this cool little like unspoken plan, and they get the drop on him. And then they like, Cody calls him a traitor, and he says, no, you're the traitor. And then
he says something like he's a traitor to his freedom, which is like it's something like that, where it's like, this is kind of a brutal way to put it.
Yeah. And then basically Obi-Wan and Anakin come back, and they capture him, and then like Slick doesn't like go running. He explains that he is the mole, and that Ventress offered to pay him for like this information, but he didn't do it for the money. He did it to like escape and to be free and to like kind of choose his own destiny. And then Cody and Rex kind of retort that it's not a nice way to like treat your brothers, but I don't know. I think aside from that, like, #Slick was right here.
Yeah. Okay.
I can see that argument, but
I think this episode I think blowing up people and like putting all your friends
maybe
at
took
risk
a bit too far
isn't the way to do it. But yeah, and I think one of the things that I like about this episode is I think it would have been really easy to, and it's right there. They could have been like, oh, it was a glitch in his programming. He had a mistake and he couldn't control himself. But no, he legit is just like, no, I did this on purpose and I wanted to leave.
Yeah, I like that aspect of it, that he was like able to fight against it and be like, I'm going to do this. Like, I want to be free. I'm like, that's such a good way to do it, in my opinion.
Is that a trope that I didn't realize until just now with like spies and suspicious people, is they use vents to hide and stuff? Like, is that why in Among Us you can vent?
Yeah.
I don't think that's
like in Metal Gear Solid 1 when you're crawling in vents. Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
Or, Die Hard, that movie people like.
No, it's definitely a Metal Gear reference. No.
Oh, okay.
Everything's a Metal Gear reference to DJ.
Exactly.
Yeah. I like this episode quite a bit, and I think it does add quite the nuance to the clones. It's so interesting too. Like, this is like a season 1 episode, and like season 1 is for the most part hit and miss, and it's mostly not about the clones, but this episode hits real hard. And then they like never really like come back to him specifically. Like, Slick's, this is his only canon appearance. He is
presumably he just goes to prison and is never seen again.
Yeah.
Until they flip the switch, and then he tries to break out and kills some Jedi.
Yeah. It is like a good like opposites attract type thing, pairing it with the next episode we're going to talk about.
Yes, these are a good combo. This is a good accidental combo right here, where they just kind of lined up in the order and they both kind of work together.
Right.
I will note that Slick is mentioned in the episode Brain Invaders, which is about it's about clones being mind controlled by like weird parasites. I don't know if you remember that. And I think I remember Ahsoka being like, there was once a clone who blah, blah, blah. And he's also mentioned in the book Dark Disciple. I'm trying to remember in what context. If I can look here.
That's the
Ventress is in that book.
Boss. Yeah,
like
it
must.
So Ventress must be like, I hired a clone once or something like that. Must be something.
She must use Slick as her proposition to get Quinlan Voss to help her out. She's like, I've done this before with Slick, and he helped me, blah blah blah. I can do the same for you. That's probably how that goes. I never actually read that book. That one flew under my radar.
We all need to read that book.
That happens about it.
I agree. That's a canon Clone Wars novel. I feel like featuring Quinlan Voss, who's cool. I feel like we should.
Right. Who just kind of disappeared and is still alive somewhere.
He's going to show up in Mando season 3, obviously.
Yeah. So yeah. Overall, how are we feeling about this one?
Great episode.
Yeah, good episode.
A little overshadowed after I watched the next episode right after. But this one's still
next
good.
one we're talking about, I like a lot more.
Yeah.
But,
I agree. I have a couple notes here. I want to remind everyone out there listening. I know we know this, and I'm sure you maybe out there listening too might know this too. Just a reminder that D. Bradley Baker voices every single clone. So any clone that you hear that you like is him. And yeah, I had a couple notes that I saw kind of online about Slick, but nothing interesting enough for me to talk about. But with your permission, why don't we move on to the next one?
Of course.
Thank you very much. Next up, we got The Deserter, season 2, episode 10. Getting into, it's interesting watching this show kind of broken up into like random episodes over seasons, because you can kind of see the jump in visuals, at least in my opinion, a little bit. So next up, we got The Deserter. It was originally released January 1st, 2010. It was directed by Robert Dalva and written by Carl Ellsworth, Drew Z. Greenberg, who wrote the previous episode that we just talked about, and Brian Larson. So this episode is also technically at the conclusion of a 2-part story preceding Grievous Intrigue, which is a great episode title name, but that doesn't really matter. All right. Fugitive. Though the Republic has won many decisive battles against the Separatist army in the Outer Rim, the Jedi have failed to capture the elusive General Grievous. Side note, we are still doing Grievous stuff in season 2, exactly like this, if you're following along and watching the whole show. After specifically targeting members of the Jedi Council, a trap was set. But following a fierce confrontation, the droid general managed to escape to the surface of the planet Salakami. Planet names are weird. Now the chase is on as General Kenobi leads a squadron of clone troopers and closes in on his desperate target. So yeah, clearly this is another episode where like the literal title of the episode is about one thing, but kind of the first person focus of it is on something else. So there's not a ton of Grievous in this episode, but we will focus on what we'll focus on is the Rex stuff here.
Yeah.
So yeah, essentially they crash land. There's not a lot of context here is needed, and the Grievous has to go from one place to another with battle droids. There's some really good battle droid humor in this episode.
Oh yeah, good humor.
with their power not charging, and Grievous just getting
Grievous
really mad and killing
Vader energy right there.
Yeah, big Vader energy.
Also, as they're going through a bunch of like shots of like planets and like, or not planets, but like locations on this planet as they're going through this battle, and it looks a lot better. I noticed already from season 1 to season 2. I was like, oh, because like we're on to like mid season 2 at this point, and I was like, this is a massive difference from what we were watching, especially when you think about it, like the other episodes we watched like early in the production
first
timeline
episode.
too. So yeah. These look a lot better. I was very surprised.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I guess for our purposes, Obi-Wan Kenobi has landed on this planet with Cody and Rex, and they're just like, we got to split up and look for clues, essentially. So Cody and Obi-Wan go one way, and Rex goes the other, and he takes with him Jesse, and there's a couple other that I wanted to Kix, the medic, and I believe, and Hardcase, who are troops from the 501st that kind of recur a little bit, and we'll definitely see in the future. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. So they go one way. Essentially, some commando droids snipe Rex just right in the chest.
Yeah.
Here, and
they get him good.
They get him good. And then, you know what? Respect to the other clones for following a formation super well. One of them holds back to protect Rex. The other two push. Textbook, in my opinion. I haven't read the textbook, but I assume that's textbook. And then kind of once they're free, they realize that they're like on farmlands. They're like, we need to go find the farmhouse. So they arrive at this farmhouse and they're greeted by, I believe, I don't know if she gets a name, but she is a Twi'lek, or she does get a name, but she's a Twi'lek. And a farm. It's kind of, this is one of those textbook Western episodes of the Clone Wars. I don't know if Will noticed a lot of these parallels. Yeah, Clone Wars, it's a Western. They arrive at the homestead and they're like, oh, please, ma'am, can we please just put him up in the barn?
Ma'am.
And yeah, so she's a little dodgy, but she lets them stay in the barn, and there's some cool little rank pulling here where I believe Kix is the medic, where he's like, Rex is like laying down, he's got this weird patch on him, and he's like, let's go, because I'm Rex and I'm the captain and I'm gung-ho. He's like, technically I outrank you if it's a medical emergency. And
he's like, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, and so they tactically leave Rex behind, which is an interesting choice.
Yeah.
He had it coming.
Yeah, and then so basically he just kind of pieces out, and then I don't even think we even really need to go over what else is going on in this episode, but essentially they let me see if there's anything else going on here. Oh yeah, so
just Kenobi's trying to get Grievous. Not much really happening. They're
not
doing
much
their
happening
thing
there. So Rex is woken up or actually before that, when the rest of the clones are there, these kids pop up and they look kind of weird. I'm not sure if it's the animation or their character design.
I think it's animation. I was thinking about that too, because like I heard the character design, because it's just like, they can't be his kids, right? They can't be the Deserter's kids.
No, they're not his kids.
Like they're not enough time has passed.
That's
like,
going to be my fun fact actually to share at the end, is that
good.
They're technically his adopted children.
Okay. I'm ready for it. After.
Yeah. And yeah, so these kids look like the cyberpunk kids, where they look like aged down adults that are just shrunk.
Okay.
Yeah,
right. Twilight versions. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't actually look.
I thought you were straight up I thought there's like, could be some weird tentacle like attachments in cyberpunk, and I was trying to rack my brain, and I was like, no, that's okay.
No, the same principle.
Same principle, yeah.
That's a good comparison.
Anyways, now Rex is woken up in the middle of the night by this dude, and before this, the kid goes, "You look like my daddy," and all the clones are like, "Okay."
Nothing to see here.
Rex is woken up in the middle of the night by a man who they do this pretty like cool little cut back and forth, and it's Rex's face and it cuts, and it's a clone.
Another clone with hair.
With hair,
with a cool mullet.
Yeah, his hair is clearly very different from any other clone we've seen.
He's clearly just like, hell yeah, I'm growing this out. I'm not in the military anymore. Like, let's do it. I don't care what it looks like.
Yeah. And he basically he's like, what's your designation number? Blah blah blah. Rex is like kind of hopping right into his like little negative programming. He's like, actually, my name is Cut Laquan. I am a real person with a name. And he explains
just a simple farmer.
Yeah. Yes, he explains that he left the army because he didn't want to kill for a living, and Rex is like, "Oh, I don't get that. You swore an oath to the Galactic Republic," which is a weird, which makes sense as a response from Rex, but like when you think about it, it's like, what was the alternative? He was just like, "Nah, I'm not gonna fight. Thanks for breeding me, but I'm good."
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, and then Cut retorts that he swore an oath to his family and asks if that still counts or if Rex wants to turn him in, which it never actually feels like a threat in this episode because I feel like we all know Rex well enough to know that he's like deep down a good guy and he's not a company man.
I feel like at the beginning of this episode, Rex would if he could. He just can't leave because he's just like dying.
He's still wounded.
I feel like that is like his arc at this. Like by the end, he's like more okay with it. But I feel like at the start of this, I can totally see like, especially when he walks in, he's like, "What's your number?" Like, I'm gonna go report this right now. Like I feel like that's his headspace still.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. Yeah. And then the kids come out and the family, the woman's name is Sue and the kids' names are Shafe and Jack. Will, how have you been pronouncing Star Wars names for us this entire show?
I don't know. I guess I just land on good pronunciations.
Yeah.
I do want to point out though that the daughter child is voiced by Kathy Soucie, who has been like a whole career of Nickelodeon voiceovers. I know her as the voice of Phil and Lil from the Rugrats series.
Okay.
And every time I hear her voice, that's immediately what I hear. Because she uses the same voice for.
I was gonna note that these kids have generic cartoon kids voices in like good and bad ways.
That makes sense now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and essentially they have this cool little interaction where like Cut's like, "Well, what's your number?" And he goes, "Actually, my name's Rex." And he's like, "Oh, I guess we all have names." Yeah. And then they go in for dinner and they have a fun little dinner. And this is kind of when Cut and Rex are like, "Oh, clone individuality versus like why we're a name more than a number." And like Cut kind of schools Rex here. I think his sort of expansive life experience as opposed to just being a person or a soldier has kind of helped him here, where he's basically like, why do you think we want to have names? And Rex does this thing where it's like, oh, well, maybe it's for the efficiency of the mission. It's like, no, I think you just want to have a name, Rex.
Yeah. He's like telling Rex what he knows deep down but doesn't want to say. He's too caught up in like everything that he's been taught to say. And Rex deep down, like we know he wants to say, yeah, I'm Rex, but like, he can't, right? It's cool.
He's like just proving to Rex that he's just a programmed soldier. He's not really a person.
Yeah.
It's he is just a number, really. And then they kind of whatever, and then Grievous does whatever. And essentially after that, they play this game called Jarek. I think it might be, I don't know. It looks like Star Wars chess. Whatever that means. Maybe it's the same game, maybe it's not. And then this is when we get into, I assume it is. I feel like everything in Star Wars is the same thing, so it's a cyclical thing. And then
they rhyme.
Cut tells the story of how after the first battle of Geonosis, he was shot down on this, or it doesn't say specifically whether it was on this planet, I don't think. But essentially he was shot down and everyone was slaughtered, and he was just like, I don't want to live this life anymore. And like, I think this is also his like kind of easy out here, as Rex is like, oh, well, he didn't have any brothers to abandon because they were all slaughtered.
That's a real thin move.
Yeah.
Yeah, traitor. Which is something that gets thrown around a lot in these two episodes, which is funny.
Lots of parallels between this clone and Galen Erso. Also abandoned.
Also a farmer. Yep.
Yeah.
It's a simple life.
Farming, really?
I'm mad of your.
Maybe that movie is good. I don't know.
It's a great movie.
And then this is when the kids go off, and they don't really do anything bad here. They're curious kids who stumble upon some more commando troopers, and this is when we get some like actually really good action here. Is essentially the kids wake up a army of 20 different commando troopers, which are the good ones, not the bad ones for those paying attention.
Those darn kids just rustling around.
Yeah, and then they basically all kind of retreat back to the homestead, and Rex is like, yo, I got this. I got my gun. We're good to go. And Cut's like, no, you don't have an arm.
Yeah.
And this is when like, this is like my kind of tropes around Westerns that were like, it's like, you got to stay back. You got to be the last line of defense to protect my family. And he's like, now I'm going to go out and one man show up all these commando droids because I've still got it. In my heart, I'm still a fighter, and I'm fighting to save my family like they're my brothers. Parallels between him and Rex.
Right.
And then I'm not going to describe all the action because that just is too confusing in my head and boring. But yeah, there's some good action here, and essentially it ends up with a commando trooper like choking out Rex, and then Cut gives the last shot, and they save the family.
Mm-hmm.
They do.
Save the day.
And everyone's happy. And then the next morning, Rex like gets ready, hops on his horse, and gets ready to ride out into the sunset like a Western.
Oh, did you know that Star Wars is a Western?
Whoa, what?
I did not know that.
And then this
Crazy.
is when Rex does this cool thing where the wife goes, oh, hey, are you going to report my husband? And he goes, oh, yeah, it's my duty. But, you know, I was a little too sick to really pay attention to what's going on. And he's offered a place to stay there forever. And he turns it down and says, this is your home, Cut. My family's elsewhere. And then he literally rides off into the sunset, and it does the
all it's missing is like the classical guitar, like
one of those like snake rattle things.
Yeah.
This is a great episode.
Oh, this is all timer. Honestly, this is fantastic.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah, this might be my favorite one shot of this entire show.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because all the other ones are just like very defined 3 of the 4 episode arcs, but this one is like really fantastic. So yeah, I really love it.
I feel like this is the episode 2 that really gets people on board with the humanity side of the clones.
Yeah, and on board with Rex.
That's really when the shift begins.
Yeah.
Like with clone humanity, and Rex is like the hero character.
Yeah, and the next episode after this, it's the lightsaber loss, but the episode after that is Mandalore plot, which is like the point where everyone says like this show hits its stride.
Right.
So like it's
but
getting
I think
there.
it starts with this episode.
I think it starts with this because lightsaber loss is a good episode.
Lost as well.
That's a good episode.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, and to finish off maybe Cut's story, Cut has one other mention in canon, and I will read it. I will read it from you. I'll read a quote from you from a character known as Glenn Tefral. He says to his children, both of you picking sides. Side you should pick is your family, no matter what, above all else. But here you sit bickering like a bunch of Starkies. You know of the Laquans? Old man Cut. He fought in the Clone Wars. He saw the truth of things. No side in war is the right side. He did the right thing, settled down, had a family, never got drawn back into the muck. And this quote comes from the Aftermath novel.
There it is.
Okay.
The Aftermath novel's coming back again.
There
DJ,
we go.
you got to read them.
I'm not going to read the Aftermath books. It's not going to happen.
I was very close to getting DJ the Aftermath books for Christmas.
Oh my god, that would have been really funny.
I could have been the worst.
Would have had to read it.
The worst part about it would be that I would be like, okay, now I have to read them, and then I would exchange my Audible tokens and just keep them on my shelf. I wouldn't be able to do it. Like if you did that, so I would read them for you, but I would not read the book. I'm sorry. That would be funny though.
My last piece of trivia here is that Pablo Hidalgo mentioned on his Twitter that while Shaith and Jack have a human father, their biological father is not Cut.
Yeah,
thank you, Pablo.
That makes sense. Timeline and also the way they look.
So
they don't
he's
look
their
human.
adoptive father.
Yeah,
you know
it's
who else
such a
is
shame.
an adoptive father? Zack Snyder, director of Zack Snyder's Justice League, streaming now on
Right.
HBO Max.
We need to get this out of our system. I think it's a real shame that this cut only is in this episode and then mentioned in a novel.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this, and I'm kind of glad he's not, because I don't know where you take us. Like, if they had a story, like, you'll go for it. Do you have a pitch?
I have a pitch.
Okay, because in my head, all that happens to him is that they turn on the chip, and then he leaves his family and is like, I'm gonna go hunt Jedi.
I never thought about that. What would happen? What happens with Order 66? Does he suddenly?
Oh no!
That would be a good follow-up episode.
You know what? Actually, yeah, that should be the way they take it. He becomes like a lone wolf Jedi hunter, where he's like, I don't know where these guys are anymore, but I'm gonna track them down. That would be cool.
Oh, that would be brilliant. And then they could have.
It'd be sad.
Rex and him could meet again.
Imagine this too.
Rex saves him.
And Rex would save him.
No, Rex would save him. But
Rex.
Imagine this too, where he has this like thing where he's like hunting Jedi, but he's still kind of attached to his like new side, where he's like, I'm hunting Jedi, but I'm like looking for the bounties so I can buy my family like a nicer house. Like, he's still kind of attached, but he's still like, he's broken. Oh,
yeah. Oh, see, that should be my Star Wars short film that I make, or fan film that I make.
That would be cool.
It should be that story.
Jackson, what is your pitch that you have?
Here's my pitch. My pitch is not as cool as that one.
Okay.
My pitch is that he should be in Rebels, and here's why. We all know that the time of Rebels in Star Wars is not a good time for the galaxy.
Really?
It's fraught with an oppressive empire who's taking over.
It is in the midst of a civil war.
Yeah. And so, but the one thing we know about Cut is that he fights for his family. And in my opinion, I think that the Rebel Alliance is kind of in line with those values of like taking care of each other and your own, and you fight for your family. So in my take, in an episode of Rebels, they go to this planet that is kind of been fraught with the Empire, and Cut like realizes like, yo, these stormtroopers, they kind of look like clones. And he's kind of gets involved in kind of like, they come like take his homestead or something like that, some generic like evil Empire stuff. And then the Rebels crew helps him, and then he realizes that in some ways he wants to right the wrongs of his brothers, but he also like, they've come for his family, but fighting for your family means fighting for the world to like be a better place. And that's why he joins the Rebels crew as the fourth clone trooper.
Cool. That's a good way to bring him back. They also could have just made him Jyn Erso's dad.
They could have. They definitely could have.
That would be cool. Yeah, so that's two good episodes. This episode, The Deserter, is I feel bad almost for the hidden enemy, because I like that episode.
Yeah,
I like that episode too. Yeah,
so good.
Yeah, this one definitely dwarfs over Hidden Enemy though. But
these are the two best episodes we watched though so far, I would say.
Yeah, compared to last week. Yeah.
If I had to rank them, it's orderly in descending order from where we've gone. Each episode's been better than the last so far.
Yeah,
I agree.
Well, because we're on that peak now. We're on that climb up where we're getting like increasing quality.
We should start a cumulative list of every episode.
Yeah, the ultimate Cantina ranking.
Yeah, and we'll rank everything. We'll rank arcs together.
Who would rank hundreds of different, not 100% connected things? That makes no sense.
That makes.
Yeah, I can't think anyone that would want to do something like that.
Who would ever do that?
And these episodes are only 22 minutes.
Yeah.
Doing that instead.
But yeah, good episode though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Any other fun facts that you have for us, or is that all you got?
No, maybe our boy Pablo. I can't remember.
No, you hit that one. That's fine.
Tweeting about. No, I meant, is he our boy or not? What's the question? I can't remember.
Yeah. Is he? I don't know.
Yeah, hit us with that sweet outro, Will.
Yeah, hit me with it.
Okay, so I guess that's gonna wrap it up for this.
Well, I don't know.
episode.
Do you have anything else to say?
No, I didn't have anything else. So I think we talked it out, and those were two good episodes. So I guess I'll just lead us into a nice segue into our outro for the episode this week. And what did you think of these episodes? If you watch them as well, let us know on Twitter at Cantina Convo. And you can let us know what your favorite episode has been so far. What would your idea be to continue Cut's canon appearances in the Star Wars universe?
And don't forget your homework for next week. Your homework for next week. Next up, we got 2 great episodes. We got Clone Cadets season 3, episodes 1 and 2.
Right. So for the rest of the series, we'll be doing arcs because that's just how it works out. All the episodes are pretty much in arcs at this point. So
yeah, hopefully we get those tears from DJ this time around.
Yeah, we need
maybe.
We need him to
I'll do my best.
React to this episode.
I'll do my best to cry for you.
Yes, thank you. I want DJ to cry. You know who doesn't cry? Ray Fisher as Cyborg and Zack Snyder's Justice League streaming on HBO Max.
I was corrected where you were going.
If you want to follow along with us on Twitter, if you haven't already, make sure once again it's at Cantina Convo. Let us know what you think. Jackson, where can the good people find you at online?
Catch me at Jackson W. Wells on Twitter tweeting. I don't tweet about anything. Well, maybe I'll tweet about Zack Snyder once. I'll give myself one Zack Snyder tweet.
Yeah, get it all out there in the single too. Just say everything you want to say, you know?
And DJ, where can they find you at?
At DJ_Gillard.
And you can find me on Twitter at WO Beeman. That's all we have for this week. So until next time, may the force be with you.